Recht. Ja.
Hello, and welcome to our webinar about how to recruit on Facebook and Instagram. First of all, we're going to introduce ourselves. I'm Stephanie, I'm the marketing lead at Simple, and next to me stands Mark. He's one of the founders of Simple.
And as you can see, we're in a beautiful countryside in the Ardennes in Belgium, as we have a team event here. Thank you, Bega, for saying hi. I was just going to ask if you confirm you can hear us all right, because we have many visitors here, but that seems to be going well. Fantastic. And the sun is shining here. We're looking forward to a great webinar.
Yes.
Stephanie, over to you.
All right. First of all, I'm going to share my screen because, of course, we made also a PowerPoint presentation so you can follow well what we are saying. Let me see. I'm going to start it. So normally you should see now online webinar recruiting on Facebook and Instagram. Is that correct? Maybe say something in the chat if you can see the slides well.
Okay, everybody can see that? Good, let's go.
All right. So first of all, I'm going to tell you what we're going to discuss today. So why should you recruit on Facebook? Well, that's why we're here. What should you pay attention to when preparing? How do you set up a campaign? Because there is some setup work that needs to be done. And then, of course, how do you measure the results? What are we not going to discuss today is free and organic recruiting on social media. We're talking about paid recruitment campaigns on Facebook and Instagram, data-driven recruitment and analysis. We're not going to discuss. We've done another webinar about that, which you can find on our website. And then what is a great working ad? That is something that we're also not going to discuss today because we're going to discuss that webinar in the next couple of weeks. Okay, so why should you believe us? Well, we provide qualified candidates and we focus there on passive candidates. We do this via very targeted advertisement on social media, like you see Facebook, Instagram, and also a bit of LinkedIn. And we do this in a user-friendly process. We've done over more than 6,000 recruitment campaigns already. Here you can see some of our customers, and we analyze 11 million data points per month, which is really, really a lot. Of course, I'm not doing this all by myself. We have an algorithm also who helps us with this.
You have brilliant IT people also.
Definitely. We have a brilliant team. All right. Now, maybe we can launch a poll, Mark, about because I want to know the audience as well. I'm talking to my screen right now, but we want to make it a bit more interactive. On the right side, you will see that there is a chat. If you have any questions during the webinar, please don't hesitate to ask them immediately. We will try to answer them right away. Or also at the end, we will have some 10-15 minutes to discuss some extra questions. If everything is going well, Mark is going to launch the poll. Yeah. So I just want to know if the audience already have done paid recruitment campaigns on Facebook or Instagram. Because Facebook is a platform that has lots of placements. It's not only Facebook, it's also Instagram, it's also Messenger and Audience Network. All right, let's see the results.
The results are in at about 70% of people have not yet published recruitment campaigns, so that you're on the right place.
Okay,
we'll teach you everything about that. And those who have, which is about 38%, okay, so it's increasing a bit. We also have some tips and tricks for you, so stay tuned.
Yes.
And please ask me questions because that's why I'm here. And if not, I think anything else to do. So go ahead and ask questions.
Yes, please. All right, now, why should you start recruiting on Facebook and Instagram with paid advertisement? Well, 20% of the job seekers is actively looking for a new job. They're on job boards, they're on Google, but 80% of the working population is not actively looking for a new job or a new opportunity, but they might be interested. And that is where Facebook and Instagram comes in. Because on average, a person scrolls 160 meters a day on Facebook and Instagram, which is a lot. And it's up to you to pop out with your recruitment advertising on those social media platforms.
Wait, Claudia, there's already a first question, which is great.
Okay.
Thanks, Lotte, because it's very applicable here. The question from Lotte is whether we think the approach to recruit through Facebook applies more for junior people, or whether it can apply to all positions and all levels. So maybe you can begin on that, Steph.
Well, that's a really good question. You can use Facebook and Instagram for any profile, for any age, for every profile that you're looking for, because the targeting options on Facebook are endless, but you need to make sure that you track everything correctly so that you can build the right audience, the right targeting for your recruitment campaigns. So Lotte, I hope that gives an answer to your question. So yes, you can also use Facebook and Instagram for more senior profiles.
Yes, and the follow-up question from Lotte is, does it make sense? Yes, it does make sense. We'll give you plenty of examples where we think, that's also the feedback we get from our customers, that the profiles we're able to reach through Facebook are very different than the ones which are coming through classical job recruitment channels.
Yes. Okay. So I hope I have already convinced you why you should start recruiting on Facebook and Instagram to attract the right candidates for your vacancy. All right, now before you can start with the campaign setup, there is some marketing know-how that you need to have to start with Facebook Ads Manager. Facebook Ads Manager is a platform where you set up your recruitment, your paid recruitment campaigns on Facebook and Instagram.
Steph, can I just interrupt? Because
Yes.
we have 4 questions already of people who are questioning whether we will share the slides afterwards.
Mhm.
In any case, you'll be able to follow it and review the recording at the end.
Yes.
I'm not so sure on the slides what our policy is, because we change our policy every week.
No. You will not receive the slides, but you will receive the recordings.
Exactly. If you send Stephanie a very nice email at the end of the presentation, she might decide,
Yes, definitely.
in the goodness of her heart,
Yes,
right, to share the presentation with you also.
definitely.
All right, let's move on. And again, if you have questions, put them in the question tab on the right-hand side, because there's a lot of comments coming in. But already, thank you for those questions.
Okay. So first of all, you need to make sure that you have a clear view on your recruitment funnel. What is a funnel? It's actually a visualization of how your recruitment process looks like. So first of all, you have an application, someone applies for your vacancy, then you have the selection process, which is for every company different. It may be different steps, maybe different interviews, etc. And then hopefully you come to a hire. But before the recruitment funnel, you also have the marketing funnel, because of course, if you launch your vacancy on your website, you need to attract the right people to read your vacancy and to apply, of course. Now, the marketing funnel can be divided in 3 different stages. First of all, the discover phase. The discover phase is a really general phase. You will show your brand, you will show your company, but you will not show your vacancy yet. So it will be really broad and not narrow for specific for your vacancy. In the engage phase, you will try to attract the right people already, but you will not show your vacancy yet. So for example, if you're looking for someone in construction, you can write an article about construction, you can make your advertisement about, are you looking for a new opportunity? And then the people that click on that advertisement will definitely be looking for a new opportunity, and you can build audiences with that data. And then it's in the attract phase that you actually show your advertisement for your recruitment, your specific advertisement with the job function, with the company, the region where they will be working, etc. So I hope this shows you that the recruitment funnel, it's really important that you have a clear view about all the steps that an applicant will take before they come to your vacancy. Because of course, there is lots of data that you will receive on Facebook, and you need to make sure that you understand the data correctly, so that you also know where you have to optimize your recruitment campaign.
I think that's a very good point. And if I can just add to that, Stephanie, I think
Yes.
as of today, so as of now in the presentation, the examples you will see will be in the attract phase,
Mhm.
because that's probably what most of you, especially if you haven't done it before, where you might start. But the real power of Facebook and the real power of using that data is you have also start gathering data earlier on, right? What kind of people are clicking onto your website? What kind of profiles are kind of the people you might be interested in, and how can you attract them? So we're actually going to focus on attract as of now. But if you're serious about using Facebook and using data, you need to start thinking about the other two phases also, and maybe check out our other webinar on data-driven recruitment. Good.
Okay. So before you can actually go into Ads Manager to set up your campaign, there needs to be some preparation done. First of all, you have to define your target audience. Now, it is important if you write your vacancy to think about what profile am I looking for, what skills do he or she needs to have.
He, she, or they.
He, she, or they,
Because
or it, or X, or
we're totally gender neutral.
yes, definitely. Which location are you looking for? So you need to think about all those aspects about the perfect profile, perfect candidate before you start digging into Facebook Ads Manager, the targeting options. Okay, now, first of all, the location. You need to think about the location. For example, if you're looking for someone in Firenze, let's say, then you can set up a radius from about 1 kilometer till 80 kilometers. Now, 80 kilometers is a bit far if you have to come to work every single day. We recommend to put it on 20 kilometers or 30 maximum, maybe.
So it's amazing how the examples are changing in view of the weather we have.
Yes.
Normally, we always give London as an example, and with a bit of sun, there goes Firenze. Okay.
All right. Then the second thing is interests. Facebook has more than 1 million interests to choose from. And these are not only interests, but also customer behavior, pages that they like. And the power of Facebook is that it's not only the pages that they like on Facebook and Instagram, so the platforms of Facebook, but also the customer behavior on the whole internet. So this is really important. And also, if you select one interest, if you give in one interest, Facebook will give you some suggestions that the audience might also like another interest, which you haven't think about before. And then the third one, and this is the most important one, if you want to define a really specific audience, that is data. If it's the first time that you're launching a recruitment campaign, then you're gonna have to use the interest and the location and the audience setup that Facebook provides you. But if you already have done some vacancies, some recruitment campaigns, then you have lots of data which you can use to build new custom audience. To build new audiences in Facebook itself. So you have lots of options. You have custom audiences, lookalike audience. I will not go into detail about that, but data is really the most important thing that you need to have before you can actually start with defining the right audience.
Yeah, maybe just to build on that, is that what is important if you're committed to this is the quicker you'll start collecting data, the more data you have, and the better it'll work in the future. And we'll talk about Facebook Pixel and what you can do already today with free tools to set it up. We'll come back to that in a second, but maybe to just have a quick example of once you have all that data, and this is just a very brief overview of our of the tool we have and what you could do with it if you have that data. Let's just assume, for instance, that you would be looking for a barista. Then, because we have done already a lot of other vacancies, we can start looking at kind of profiles that are, for instance, in hospitality. We can use that data from hospitality functions, then go start looking at experience and obviously the location, let's say New York here as an example. And then we're able to use the data we have gathered in the past to actually make our future searches better and more effective. So again, the message here is use the data, start collecting data as quickly as you can. We'll talk about how you can do that, how you can keep track of the data. You could obviously use a very user-friendly tool like Simple. There's my shameless plug of self-promotion right there. But this is just to show you an example of the more data you have, the easier your future recruitments will be.
Yes, I just want to add to that because in our tool you can choose the type of function, but this is not something which you can choose from in Facebook Ads Manager in the audience setup. So if you haven't done recruitment campaigns yet, you have to build audiences yourself with some interesting content, interesting blogs, to get some traffic and to build the right audiences. All right.
Sorry, there's a question
Yes.
from Rob. I missed that. There's a question from Rob, an example of the data you were talking about. If I can just pick in on that.
Definitely.
For instance, Rob, as we mentioned, we talked about the discover, the engage phase. What you could do is through the Facebook pixel, I will explain in detail how that works. You can start tracking the kind of people who are visiting, for instance, certain pages on your own website. So for instance, you can start tracking what is the profile of the people that tend to come onto your homepage or onto your vacancy page. What would be the difference between both profiles? So once you start tracking and collecting data, you can start working with that, and that will be data you own, or at least that's going to be proprietary to you, because you will know what it means and what the value of that data is. Maybe again, and maybe I missed it when you said it, everything we talk about here is GDPR proof, right? Or when we say you can track people, you can track data, it's always on an aggregated level, right? It's never that you can track who was actually on your website. We are always using data on an aggregated level, and as long as you have an updated privacy policy, you have a cookie policy, you are perfectly fine from a GDPR perspective.
Yes.
There's one more, but there's just one question. Let me just check. The question from Louise: what number of interests is recommended to define the target audience?
Well, I can't say like you have to choose 10 or 20 because it will depend on the data that Facebook has. So for example, if you're looking for an audience in which is really narrow concerning the location, then you might have to choose more interest than when your location is really broad. Facebook will tell you an estimated daily results of the people that you will reach once you've selected the interests that you're looking for.
Okay, and the other question from Ali is, that's a very good point. Ali asks, to target people, do they need to have their Facebook profile updated? So for instance, and thank you for using our example, if you were looking for a barista, should that person actually have indicated to Facebook they are working as a barista? That's a very good question.
Yeah.
And this will actually show you the true power. Well, because I'm kind of guessing what the answer of Stephanie is going to be. I have a good idea. And I think this was really going to show the real power of using Facebook.
Yeah. So, well, we know that every Facebook profile can be updated with the job function, but of course, not every not every Facebook profile is updated as we want. But this is actually the real power of Facebook, because the interest and the behavior which you can choose from will also look at the experience, the behavior that they do on the internet as a whole. So not only on Facebook itself, but also on the internet as a whole. Facebook has lots of data, will gather lots of data.
And maybe to build on your example here, on the barista example, I would assume a typical barista is going to be interested in websites about coffee beans, cocktails. Okay. That's another kind of barista. But ways to make the perfect cappuccino, etc., right? And if that happens, you can start using those interests and hopefully reach people who have similar interests and therefore might be interested in a barista. So what's important to understand is that this is very different than LinkedIn, where on LinkedIn you say, I want to reach people who have a master's degree in engineering and who have told LinkedIn that they speak French and German. Facebook is a whole different ballgame, right?
Yeah.
They have a lot more data. It's behavioral data, so therefore it's actually more trustworthy because it's based on what consumers actually or visitors actually really do. but you need to really think about how you can use that to target in an optimal way. And a follow-up question from Bahar, maybe to tackle, where he asks, and I think he asks, is this right from the Facebook jobs page? This, what you're now seeing is actually our software, Bahar, but we are using the Facebook data, right? So you could also set up your dashboard yourself if you have a lot of data. But in this case, it's our software. We'll give you a link to a free trial at the end of the webinar. But if you would have a lot of time, you could actually also build that yourself. Good.
All right. So once you've defined your target audience and once you've selected the right audience in Facebook Ads Manager itself, it is important to also see what the competition is doing. And I'm not talking about the competition of your company, but the competition of your target audience. Who is competing for your target audience? Who is showing advertisement to the audience that you want to reach? And what are they doing on Facebook itself? So we use Facebook Ads Library, and I will go live to Facebook Ads Library. We will also share the link in the chat. So here you can type in any company you like to see their Facebook advertisement from. So if you can just say a company in the chat, then I will search if they use Facebook ads now, because it is important that they are using it now. So any company where you want to see the ads from.
Right. Sophie is asking, La Lorraine is L-A, space, Lorraine is L-O-R-R-I-N-A. Check if they come up.
Let's see.
No, they might be the internet connection. Let's do IKEA. Let's see if we can do IKEA.
I think it's an internet connection, I'm afraid.
So, there you go.
Okay.
Let's take
there
IKEA
you go.
USA.
So it's IKEA USA. And they are, so here you can see their Facebook profile. You can see their followers. You can see how much likes they have. Well, they have lots of likes, 30 million. And then you can see the ads that they launched in September. Here you can also see that they're doing it on Facebook and Instagram, but not on Messenger and Audience Network. You can see that they're using a carousel as an advertisement type. You can see the copy. You can see their call to action. You can see their how they try to convince to click to the website of IKEA. All right, maybe one more.
Yes. Well, yeah. Let's do one more.
Okay.
Let me go back to the chat because there were some questions in the meantime. Nespresso.
Nespresso. All right. Let's see if it shows.
Great question from Koen there.
Okay. It's still searching, so maybe we can already answer the question.
Yes, so the question was from Karen. To come back to the data, how do you make sure you do not reach the wrong profiles? Somebody who looks up a lot of clothes doesn't mean they want to work in there. Yes, Karen, let me just come into the screen here so you can see me, maybe. It's a very good point. And obviously, there's never a kind of one-on-one relationship. You'll also start looking at the other data you might have to start identifying people based on whether they might be open for another job. And this is all about, testing. We'll come back to the testing approach we propose in a second. But like I mentioned earlier, it's not a one-on-one relationship. You'll have to start combining. For instance, if you're looking for somebody in retail to work in retail, I'm just kind of from the cuff, right? You might say, look, people in retail, they have to work on Saturday, right? But then they have off on Monday. Let's do specific targeted advertising on Monday during the day, right? When we know maybe people in retail might have a day off. So it's all, again, just shooting from the hip here. But you'll have to start connecting several data points to kind of match a profile and then start testing with those profiles.
Yes. So in the meantime, I've looked up the ads from Nespresso. Here you can see the ads. You can see again the copy. You can see that they use a video over here. You can see that they also use images. So have a look around on Facebook Ads Library, because it might give you some inspiration about how your ads should look like.
Let's just do one more
Okay.
step, because there's a question here. Let's do Tempo Team.
All right.
Because somebody's asking, well, these are just standard advertising examples. That's very true.
Okay.
So we'll look now for a staffing
Tempo
agency,
Team in
Tempo
Belgium.
Team in Belgium. I will probably see,
Yeah.
yes,
So
as you can see here,
that
these
they
are more
also-
vacancy ads that they're running.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. I will go to the keynote again. All right. Now, once you have some inspiration about how your ad will look like, you can start creating your advertisement. Now, we've done over more than 6,000 recruitment campaigns, and we want to share some tips and tricks which we have gathered during those recruitment campaigns. First of all, use authentic pictures. This is a really, really important one. If you have, you don't have to hire a professional photographer. Just take your mobile, make some pictures of the team, of the office where they will work, etc., etc. Because, I mean, you can search for stock images on the internet itself, but Facebook will see that it's not authentic. People want to know in which team they come, in which office they will work. Like you can see here, these are examples from our clients that we've done. So this is really important. Then the second one, use uniform communication. What do I mean by that? Well, of course, it's important that you show your brand so that people will know immediately in which company they will work. And if you, for example, the left one here, Nationale Loterij, it's green and white, then you can also make your banner where you have to write your function that you're looking for. You can make it in the same colors. And also, this is really important for your performance of your campaign. Facebook will also look at the performance of your website, of your vacancy page itself. So if you use these colors in your advertisement, make sure to use the same colors on your vacancy page so that there is a uniform communication between both. And then third one, you can find lots of Facebook best practices online. I mean, the internet has lots of best practices, especially from Facebook, but we want to give you a golden tip to test everything. We really like testing everything. For example, if a Facebook best practice is that video will work better than picture, well, it might be, but you have to test everything. And if you see that a picture is working really well, for example, an account manager in, let's say, London, and you use the same picture for an account manager in, let's say, Firenze, then I'm pretty sure that the results will be different. So you have to test everything again. Also, when you're relaunching the same campaign, it will give different results. So that's a golden tip to experiment with everything and to test everything. Okay. Now, well, this is a bit nitty-gritty, but the dimensions of your picture and the dimensions of your video needs to be like Facebook wants to. So earlier it was really difficult, and for all the different placements, pictures need to have different pixels, different sizes, but now it's really easy. So for the feeds on Facebook and Instagram, it needs to be a square, and for the stories, of course, it needs to be vertical. Okay. Then I will give it back to Mark.
Thank you. Let's just again show you how maybe you could do this yourself in our software. What you see on the left here is the editor we built, and on the right is the preview. And let's continue our example of the barista. What you could do in software is you kind of paste the text you want to put in the advertising. We'll give some pointers if we think that the text is too long. You can then start looking for a picture. And again, like Steph mentioned, think about what would be a relevant picture for your audience to look at. Again, within our software, you see that on the right-hand side, we'll automatically start combining that with a banner, right? Which then will show what you're looking for. But if you kind of want to also put this on Instagram, which has a different format, within the same software, so you don't need Photoshop or anything else, we'll do the cropping for you so that you can actually kind of also make sure that ad is then published in the right format as you want it to be, right? With your logo on there, even if you don't have a Facebook page, the software we developed will do all of that for you. Then we have some 3 dancing dots, which will keep you busy while you wait for the picture to be made. And there you go. And then important also, you can put some other pictures in there, which might be relevant, to allow the system and our algorithm to start testing, which is a nice segue into the subject we'll be discussing now.
Yes, thank you. So like you already noticed, we're really a fan of A/B testing. For example, with this one, we received 2 different pictures from our client, which was Legerstock. It's a company in Belgium, and they were searching for a sales consultant. We made the same text, the same call to action, the same function time, only the picture is a bit different. We launched them both, and as we speak, we're also going to launch
A
the poll.
Maybe just quickly explain the A/B testing a bit more specific first.
So the concept of A/B testing is that you test one aspect of your advertisement or of your vacancy. You can test everything. You can test the placements on Facebook. You can test the copy. You can test the visuals. You can test a visual against a video, etc. But it is important that if you launch your campaign, that you only test one thing, so that you will, if you receive the results from Facebook, if you see the performance of your campaign, that you will immediately see why one A/B test is working better than the other one. All right. Okay, so are the answers coming in?
Yes. So the question is now, let's have a look at the polls published on the right-hand side of your screen.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see some first results. So, okay, well, it's going even Steven, as we would say.
Okay.
There's a slight 55% for the one on the left, 60%. So yeah, most people think the one on the left, so without the masks or the iPhone masks on there. Yeah, that seems to be the winner,
All
according
right.
to the audience.
Okay, well, let's see what the data has told us. So for the left picture, we received 22 applications, which was more than the one on the right.
I mean, just to put the win now, I think people won't be able to see.
Yeah. I'm just looking for my
Let's see that. Well, the mouse is gone. Okay, forget it.
Okay.
Let's go back.
Yes. So we received more applications for the one on the left. The cost per application was also much cheaper than the one on the right. And this is a really good example that you have to test everything, because at our company, we thought that the one on the right might be more fun, might be more attractive to the audience, because of course this is the world which we're living in with the face masks. But the data told us something different. The left one worked better. So it is important, if you are doubting between 2 pictures, then launch them and you'll see the results after a couple of days. Okay. These are some examples of videos that we've made. If you make a video, it is important that the first 3 seconds are really attractive, because of course people are scrolling on their Facebook and Instagram, and you need to pop out immediately with your video advertisements. And as you can see, most of the videos are vertical, so they take up the whole mobile, so that people will definitely see your video when they are scrolling. Okay.
Steph, maybe a question before we go to the next chapter.
Yes.
Or chapter or element, is that Bavo is asking, what is the average budget per campaign?
Okay. Well, like I already said, we like A/B testing and we test everything. So we recommend to have a daily budget of 40 or 50 euros a day. This is a recommendation of us, because we test the different visuals, we test different copy, we test different audiences. So it is important that you test it, and that you have a minimum of budget for every advertisement that you're launching. I don't know if that is an
Yeah,
answer.
I think maybe just to add to that, I mean, if you're thinking that, for about 100 euros, you'll be able to find and hire somebody, then, you probably should kind of look elsewhere,
Mhm.
right? You're going to need budgets of 500 to 1,000 euros to reach people, to reach the applicants, to allow also Facebook to, maybe I'll just show my face a bit, to allow Facebook to actually kind of also learn from the data you're having. But the good news is, again, and I know I'm repeating myself, the more data you have, the easier it'll become in the future. We also did with our customers, the more data we get from customers on the profiles of people that tend to be working there, that are interested in similar ads, the more data you have, the cheaper it will become.
Mhm.
But it will still be an investment of 500 to 2,000 euros. That's something you need to work on. But we'll talk about budget in a couple of slides,
Yes.
actually.
All right. So now, how do you begin with setting up your campaign? Well, Facebook Ads Manager, the campaign is divided in different components. And the first one is a global one. It's a campaign level, and there you have to define your objective of your campaign. So, for example, if you want to have as much as clicks as possible, then you're going to choose traffic as an objective. But if you want to have lots of applications, lots of conversions, then you're going to choose conversion as an objective. And it is important, it's a bit of a technical setup if you want to choose conversions, because if you choose conversions, your campaign will only perform good if you have at least 50 conversions a week. 50 conversions is a lot, and it's difficult to have 50 applications. But we at Simple, we found another objective, another conversion. We track actually how long a visitor will stay on our vacancy page, and if it's 30 seconds and 75% of the vacancy that they've read, then that is a conversion fired to Facebook. I know it's really technical explanation, but it is important to set up everything correctly, and so that you can choose the right objective for your campaign. Then underneath the campaign level, you have the ad set level. And on the ad set level, you have to define your audience. You have to select the location, the interests, custom, lookalike, everything that's concerning the audience, you have to select in the ad set level, and also the different channels, because Facebook will recommend to use all the channels, all the placements, all the platforms that they provide. But what we've seen is that, for example, a technician will be more on Facebook feed than Instagram stories. But it is important to test everything, because you don't know it beforehand. It is not that Facebook will tell you where your audience will be. And then the third thing that you have to select in the ad set level is a budget. You can choose for a lifetime budget or a daily budget, but I will explain a bit more about budgets later on. And then beneath the ad set level, you have the ad level, and this is what the audience will actually see. So there you will have to write your copy, there you will have to upload your visuals. Just important to keep in mind, it is not a one-on-one relationship. It can be, well, we recommend that if you have one campaign, that you have different ad sets and different ads, because of course we like A/B testing. Like, I hope you already know by now.
There was a question from Tom, maybe,
Yeah.
Steph, about do you change the ad daily?
No, we don't change the ads daily. And also, if you change the ads, it will have an impact on your performance. What we recommend is, if you want to test something different, that you launch a new ad so you can compare the data with the ads that you already have. Okay. Now, what defines the cost on Facebook? First, it's the bidding. Facebook is a bidding platform, and you're bidding against the competition that is also targeting your audience. Second is the estimated action rates. This is a bit of a black box. What is this? Well, Facebook will look not only on the performance of your campaigns, but also on the performance of your Facebook page. And for example, if someone asks a question in Facebook Messenger, what is the time until you react to it? These are all action rates that Facebook will give a rate on all those actions, but you will never see it, or you will never know, okay, I have a rate of, 80%. No, it is a bit of a black box, but it will define your cost as well. And then the third one, and this is a really important one, the user value. Facebook, of course, will see what value can you bring to the users of Facebook and Instagram. Because Facebook has advertisement space, but people are scrolling on Facebook and Instagram on their spare time, and you have to give them value. So these are three things to keep in mind about cost. Now, how do you calculate your budget? Is there a question?
No, there's no question, but I just wanted to add maybe something before we move on to calculator, is that keep in mind your competition is not the same competition as the competition of your company. Let me give one example. If you're in the car leasing business, right? Your competitors will be other car leasing companies, right? But if you're looking to hire somebody for a car leasing company, your competitor might also be somebody who's actually interested in Volvo as a brand or in some other car-related publications. Because Facebook will look at, if you want to target people with an interest in cars, you're competing at companies like Volvo who also want to reach those people. So think about what's your target audience, and also start thinking about who might your competition be on that. So you're not only bidding against people within your industry, but you're also bidding against companies who have maybe deeper pockets, right? Who are looking for the same audiences. And that's also, again, and I know it's getting complicated now, that's also important to keep in mind when you start building your interests. And another reason why it's important to kind of make sure you have your own data for targeting as much as possible.
Yes. Now, how do you define how much money you have to begin your campaign? Well, we at Simple, we have launched a financial Facebook formula. Mark will send you a link to it. And there are three questions where you have to think about before the Facebook formula can actually start calculating your budget. The first one is, how many applicants do you actually need, do you think, to have a hire? And then second one is, what is a conversion on the vacancy page? Maybe just an example, what is a conversion rate? Well, if you have, for example, 1,250 visitors on your vacancy page, but only 50 applicants that actually apply, then you have a conversion rate of 4%. And 4% is actually a really, really good rate. But it is important to keep in mind that the quality of the candidates, of the applications, are also good, because if you have, for example, 10% conversion rate, but the quality is not good and all the people that apply are off target, then of course you're nothing with the conversion rate. And then the third question that you have to think about is, what is a conversion of your Facebook ad? Do you have attractive pictures? Is your brand really strong? These are all things to keep in mind, but I will suggest to play around a bit with a Facebook financial formula that we created, and Mark has launched the link.
I'm putting the link to the resources page, because that's also the page where you can see the Facebook formula, but also you can download a copy of the webinar on data-driven recruitment. So there's a lot more interesting content on there that you could look at. Maybe one question from Valerio, Stephanie. I'll wrap it up. He says, do you take into consideration which population uses the respective social media? i.e., people born after 95 don't use Facebook so much anymore. I wouldn't know. I'm just born slightly before 95. But Steph, can you kind of shed some light on that?
I'm not really understanding the question I think
we're probably directionally. I'll just pick it over Valerio. It's true that Facebook is not it's becoming very big. There's a lot of people on there. And indeed, where you're kind of looking at, for instance, Instagram will target a younger demographic, right? So for instance, and again, what we always do is testing. Even when we think it might be a younger or an older audience, we also take always Instagram into the mix and just see how the reaction on a specific ad is on that.
All right. Now, once you've set up your campaign, Facebook will give you lots of data, and it is important that you understand the data correctly so that you can optimize your campaign in the best way. Now, I just want to know who already has installed the Facebook Pixel on their website. Mark is going to launch a poll if everything is going correctly.
Well, your wish is my command, Stephanie. So I'm just launched it, and again, it's on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the results there, and not completely surprising, about half of people are asking what the hell is a Facebook Pixel, and only about 20% have installed it on their website.
Okay, cool. So I will introduce you a bit more to the Facebook Pixel. Now, what is it? It's actually a piece of code that you have to install on your website so that Facebook will receive all the data of what the visitor is doing on your website itself, and also to set up the conversions. Now, what is important? You can use the Facebook Pixel to retarget your audience. For example, because people that apply are scrolling in their spare time, they click on the advertisement, they come to the vacancy, but they think, oh, I'm not going to apply today. Well, then you have to retarget them with some new advertisement, with some new pictures, so that you will be top of mind with them, so that they remind themselves to apply maybe when they have the time. Okay. Then the second thing that is important with the Facebook Pixel, I already mentioned it, you have to track the conversions. What we do is, if someone applies on our vacancy page, we have an application form, it's a chatbot, where people can easily fill in their questions, which you will use to screen candidates. And once they filled in all the questions, they come on the thank you page. And on that thank you page, the Facebook Pixel is fired, and all the data is sent to Facebook so that Facebook can optimize your campaign in the best way. And then the third one, and this is also a really important one, is that you can use the Facebook Pixel to build audiences. Once you've created a good custom audiences, a good targeting for your campaign, then you can also use lookalike audiences. And this is really powerful of Facebook. These are similar audience, but just more broadened so that you can reach more people for your advertisements. Now, next to the Facebook Pixel, there are some useful tools which we recommend to install as well. And the first thing is Google Analytics. Google Analytics is also a piece of code that you have to install on your website. And I would recommend, if you haven't done it yet, to do it after the webinar, or once you've read our data-driven recruitment white paper, because Google Analytics will measure all the actions that people take on your website. Now, how do you have to install all this via Google Tag Manager? These are also these tools that I'm showing you right now. They're all free, but you have to have some technical setup before you can actually start gathering the data to send to Facebook again.
Wait 1 second,
Yes.
Stephanie, before there's a question from Steph. Do you recommend working with a daily budget or a lifetime budget for an ad campaign? He's also asking whether this depends and whether you should just test it. So testing cannot be the answer.
No, okay.
So you have to choose between it's a daily budget or lifetime budget.
Yeah, and we recommend to choose daily budget and not lifetime budget, because if you choose lifetime budget, then you also have to set up an end date, and that's something we don't recommend, because we want to constantly, A/B test. I'm sorry, to allocate the budget to the right advertisements. Okay. And then the third one, which I want to share with you, is Google Data Studio. Google Data Studio is also a free tool from Google, and it's a tool where you can set up, where you can customize dashboards, where you can actually show all the data that you gather from Google Analytics, but also from Facebook, and you can build some nice graphics over there, some nice graphs with all the data that you have. All right. then it's up to Mark, I
Okay.
think, or is there still a question?
No, there's no.
Okay.
Steph was typing something, but it was just to say thank you to your very eloquent answer,
Okay.
Stephanie. Okay, just 2 minutes where I just want to show you, like, basically a bit more in detail the tool we have built, which is actually what we call recruitment marketing for non-marketeers. Facebook is complicated. It's quite a lot of things you need to keep in mind. Facebook pixel, etc., etc., etc. We made this all in one kind of clear package, and if all goes well, that's of course always a question. I'll just go there to the app, and what our tool will do. And I'm just going back to the barista example here. It will show you a checklist of all the things you need to do, and I kind of already shown the example. You can then use this to do your targeting. You can set up your advertising. We've shown that also. You can even make a vacancy page here. And again, we will take you by the hand to make your page, to make sure that you have the right text. We'll give you tips. We'll give you pointers. Once the campaign goes live, within our software, you'll be able to see all the data coming in. And what's very important is this is a live campaign which we're running now. And you can see, for instance, here, these are the kind of budgets we're spending on campaigns. But here, for instance, our software will automatically stop some testing, take the result, take conclusions from that result, and put those advertisings on inactive and put the money on the best working ads. So if you don't have the time, if you don't have the kind of interest to go and dig deep in everything we've been showing you, there's good news. There's a great tool that we developed to do just that. And again, and I want to make very clear, it's very helpful. You need zero marketing know-how. You don't need to have a pixel on your website. You don't even need a website. All of this is done within our tool, and we will take you by the hand to actually help you create a fantastic working ad. And also on top of that, of course, because you're using our tool, you have access to our data, right? To our previous campaigns, to our previous vacancies, which actually should make your advertising 2.5 times more effective. That's the last test we did. So €1 spent here will be actually worth 2.5 because of using our algorithm on top of that. So if you have questions on that, as we promised, I'll put a link to a free trial into the notes, so you can start a 2-week free trial and see whether it is something you can use. Obviously, when we say free, the software will be free. You're going to have to pay yourself for your Facebook advertising costs. We're not that generous yet, I would say. Just kidding. So have a play around with the tool. And I think we'll now go open to the question.
Yes.
So let's check if there's no questions. There's a question from Mireille. What are the minimum budgets to start working with Simple, excluding ad cost? The monthly fee is €349. It's on there, so no, it's not on there.
No, it's not on there.
This is just a wrap-up of what the software does. It's €349, but you can run 10 advertising campaigns at the same time, right? So it gives you 10 slots. If you want more slots, it's going to be a tad more expensive, but for €349 per month, which is cheap as hell, let's admit, for the power of software you get there, you can run 10 campaigns.
Mm-hmm. All right.
I think there's let's
Still
go to
more
Q&A.
questions?
There's a question from Mirto.
Mm-hmm.
For which markets do these campaigns work better? Have you checked different countries and different industries, retail or hospitality?
So we can't say it like there isn't a silver bullet for every campaign. We have lots of we've done over 6,000 recruitment campaigns, and it was for different countries, it was for different profiles, it was for junior and senior level. So it is working for every kind of profile and in every country, if that is an answer to it.
It's a partial answer. Maybe if I can just add to that. Although it is going to be important, I mean, we are working in several other countries. Now, obviously, at the moment, for instance, I'll take Russia as an example. Russia, because of Russia being Russia, Facebook is not that strong across the whole of the population. You have VKontakte, which is bigger than Facebook, but Facebook will help you reach the more affluent people, especially through Instagram. So with more kind of higher target audience, you could reach in Russia through Facebook and Instagram, but then you would need VKontakte or advertising on VKontakte for Russia. So it's also going to be depend, again, China, Facebook is not present in China. This is not going to help you to recruit in China.
Yes. All right. If you have any more questions, please ask them right now so we can answer them immediately. If there are still some more questions that come up in a couple of weeks, couple of days, then you can always send us a message on LinkedIn or email us, of course.
One more question, and we're
Yes.
really very happy with the question, Steph, is that are the applicants via social less qualitative than through other channels as they are focused on passive seekers?
No, because I mean, if people are scrolling on Facebook and Instagram and they are well, you can attract them with your advertisement, then they are, well, we see that they are more motivated to apply. They are more motivated to actually to make the best of the application. So no, it's not that you're targeting less qualitative candidates.
No.
Not at all.
Very good point. What is important, though, maybe to add on that, what we do notice with passive candidates is that you have to treat them well, right? I think what we see clearly in the data is that if passive candidates are coming in and we have companies who only react to that 10 days later or 2 weeks later, these people will they will ghost you. Right, so it's important to keep the momentum. If they come in, do a daily check, a bi-daily check, to quickly respond to them and say, "Hey, we noticed you applied. We want to continue with you or not." Obviously, not everybody will be a perfect candidate, but the importance is also to keep the momentum, to keep the speed on your end, to make sure that you get to a hire.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just checking.
We still have 2 more polls as well to launch. We just want to ask you, did you think this webinar was useful, and which topics do you think that we should do our next webinar of?
Yes.
So Mark is going to launch
Publishing those now.
Yes. Okay.
But I think I have one question coming in.
I also, yeah. No?
Sorry. No, the follow-up. Yes, Mireille, it's best to combine different channels. Yes.
Okay. I also recommend you to take a look at our resources, because we've gathered a lot of tips and tricks about our knowledge about recruitment campaigns on Facebook and Instagram. And on LinkedIn, we're always posting our new webinars. So keep an eye on that as well.
Okay. Okay, Dries is thanking us for the information. We have a question from Natalie. Okay, basically, Natalie, the question is, how do you make sure you only hire people from the location you need? You can do that by kind of selecting that you want to reach people in that location who live or work there. That's kind of a tool that's a kind of a checkbox you can select, and then to the best of our knowledge, that's quite, let's say there's a 5% error margin on that, but that's the best way to approach that. I think we're going to have to wrap up, because basically we're going to get kicked out of this webinar room in about 2 minutes. So I just want to thank you, and a very special shout out to somebody who's watching this seminar and who's the last day at Simple, somebody from our team, and he's been very instrumental in helping set up the webinar. If you're reaching this, if you're actually getting through, it's a lot of thanks to Tuur, who's taking care of the work on that. So a big shout out to Tuur, I think, who's watching also, just to make sure everything is running smoothly. So thank you, Tuur, not only for this webinar, for everything also you've done already. Good.
Okay. I also want to thank you, the audience. I really liked the way you were interactive with the polls and the questions. So if you have still more questions in a couple of days, please don't hesitate to send us a message on LinkedIn. Then I wish you a really pleasant Thursday afternoon, and I hope to see you again in one of our webinars. Bye-bye, everyone.